All right, in this next video, I'm gonna go over how to talk about the power company and set the expectations for each individual market. Now, understand that I'm gonna be focusing on Nevada, but I hope that you guys can find your own utility, laws and things like that. Every market's different, so you have to do your due diligence and you have to do your homework to figure out, and be able to apply this in your market. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the Nevada market, and originally back in 2018, there was this huge shift in solar to where a lot of solar companies came back into the state. Reason being is because they didn't want to pay out the net metering to every solar customer. So because of that shift, we saw that the state of Nevada opened and was able to facilitate solar companies coming back into the state. Okay, in 2019, Governor Sisolak passed a bill mandating renewable power. Okay, there's a certain goal. It's called a renewable portfolio standard. You guys ought to Google it. RPS standard, renewable portfolio standard. Basically, what it is there's a certain amount of power that has to come from renewable sources by a certain date. California, Hawaii, they're very aggressive with the RPS standard. They want to have 100% power by a certain date. Nevada just recently passed it in 2019. By 2050, Nevada has to be 100% renewable. Okay, so this is the why this is happening. A lot of people ask me, hey, it sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? Well, the reality is, if we step back a little bit and we analyze, the power company, ENRG, they're essentially in a bind to where if they don't have a certain amount of power by a certain date, they're going to get charged huge fees. And so in order to avoid that, they're offering customers obviously net metering, and they're actually going out there and doing solar farms and things like that can be very expensive. So the easiest route is your roof. It has a perfect structure and it has the ability to put solar on top of it at little to no cost up front. Possibly most solar companies are offering nothing down, right? And so the infrastructure is there. Your roof is a perfect place to put solar. It's literally a perfect place to put solar, and you're able to go on there, draw design, customize it to meet their needs. And so that's one of the reasons why people ask me, well, it sounds too good to be true. Well, it's because when you look in the background and you kind of take a step back, you realize like, hey, this is happening. This is just the way the world is moving. As our population is growing, there isn't enough coal to sustain us in the future decades to come. The next generation is going to have to go solar. That's just the bottom line. There's no way we can sustain ourselves as a population with the way the energy demands are versus our population. And so that's one of the reasons why I bring up global warming. There's some people that don't believe in it. At the end of the day, every summer, every year, it's getting hotter and hotter. So if that's the case, that means that you're going to have to burn more power, or I guess coal, to be able to generate the power. And so if you talk about the renewable portfolio standard, you talk about the actual laws within each state, you're able to set the credibility, okay? The credibility that you need to be able to win that customer over, because the legitimacy is no longer going to be there. And so at the end of the day, it's a win-win. It's a win-win because the power company, they're going to lose a customer, but in reality, they're going to get to write off that certain amount of power as solar, and it's going to comply with that standard that they need to meet. So the other thing too is when you look at the power plants, there's a certain infrastructure that's built on each power plant, right? These degrade over time, and unfortunately, these power plants cost a lot of money to keep up. So every year, it gets more and more expensive to keep these plants up, and that's why customers have distribution charges. They have electric consumption charges. They have all these fees that are getting tacked on. And at the end of the day, I asked the customer, well, who controls the cost of power? Do you control it, or does ENRG control it? Oh, well, no. Well, ENRG does. Okay. And do you own the power plant, or does ENRG own the power plant? Well, no, they do. Okay. So right now you are renting your power for the rest of your life. You're never going to own it. And you are subject to whatever cost they give you from now on. Would you agree? Yes. Okay, great. So being able to establish that and to concretely put that into in their mind frame, they realize, number one, they don't have a choice. They can't not pay for power. And number two, they don't control the price of the power, that the power company does. Okay. So being able to explain on a bill and showing them, hey, this is right here, all these charges. You have electric consumption, you have green power financing, you have renewable energy program, you have all these different charges that get added on here. And the crazy part is, I'd say about maybe half of the power that they actually consume goes to paying for their bill. The other half is just fees. So it's kind of like when you get Amazon and you get sent shipping and handling, you get charged that. That's what you're getting charged when you're buying your power. It has to go through a substation. It has to be shipped to your home, and so all those fees are added on. It's like a toll road, right? So all the power that has to come from the power plants literally have to be shipped over to your house. Well, don't you think you'd save money if the infrastructure was right above your roof? Heck, it's just right there. There's no need to have to pay all these tolls and all these other charges and fees to get the power to your home. It's right on top of your roof. Okay, so helping them understand that, they realize that it's expensive. It's gonna be expensive, and I probably should consider going solar.